All right, fellas, got an absolute treat. Highly requested video topic for me to cover. Give my 2 cents. That's all I got, fellas. I got 2 cents. And you bet your buns I'm going to chuck them right at you. I'm going to talk about the best and worst back exercises. You know, I didn't even know the name of the freaking video. It's the new Jeff Nippard latest release. Of course, it's ranked with science. You guys starting to get a trend here that almost freaking every video coming out these days is with science, backed by science. Science proves. That's a load of horse crap, in my opinion, because unless they're in the freaking laboratory and they're comparing, they got a bunch of freaking, Johnny 2 plates, Johnny 3 plates. I'm not talking about the cookie cutters that they recruit for the studies that have never been training before. I'm talking about experienced, thick horse cocks, right, that have spent several years in the den of steel and iron. Unless you're comparing these freaking thick Johnnies, you know what I mean, where they're going freaking toe-to-toe, mustering up the cojones to move max weights with utter intensity. How the freak is science proving if one thing is better than another? The freaking studies or the EKGs or whatever, the electrodes on the muscle activate, it doesn't mean anything, man. If that meant something, then like clamshells, like for your glute, would get you giant glutes, right? Because they get the freaking activation. You know what I'm saying? They'll get you freaking huge, voluptuous, rotund butts. But that doesn't happen. You know what does? Big, deep squats, right? Those power movements are what gets you thick and voluptuous. But, you know what I mean? We didn't even watch the video. We're 0 seconds in, and I already have 2 minutes of critique. But we'll get to it.
And worst back exercises for muscle growth. Well, in this video, I'll be ranking 20 of the most popular movements on a tier list from
He's got high quality videos. Sure beats the hell out of Rick De La Sticks content.
S for super to F for fail. And at the end, I'll crown one exercise as the best of the best, raising it.
Okay, let me just, all right.
20 of the most popular movements on a tier list from S for super to F for fail. And at the end, I'll crown one exercise.
Look at the freaking anatomy chart here. Come on. Are we really studying the freaking, every single muscle fiber? I feel like this is, I don't know. And no shade, of course, but I'm just saying, like, we're really, and by the way, that's the dog snoring, the couple of the big pooches, the big thick boys, the bulldogs. Look at the books, NSCA. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist, or I was at one point, because you gotta like freaking renew it every year because it's a scam basically. But of the NSCA, it's supposedly the hardest freaking personal training or strength coach exam there is. And let me tell you, your typical freaking Johnny Pencil Neck could pass that and get their certification and all that. I guess my point is what I'm trying to say here is all these books and studying and all that, it doesn't mean you're going to have the knowledge to get thick, rotund, striated mass, right? It's simple. It comes down to hoisting hefty loads with tremendous gusto. Really, it's that simple, Again, we're 20 minutes deep in here. We've gone through 12 seconds of footage.
Size is the best of the best, raising it to S tier plus, and one is the...
Let's get to it. We know we know
good
criteria.
Pump and a nice mind-muscle connection.
So we got a seated row.
3, it must have a simple progression. If you can't easily add weight or reps over time, it's getting knocked down. All right.
Here we go. Renegade rows.
Which makes it hard.
This is a freaking ladies boot camp exercise, right? It's basically the whole idea is get the heart pumping, thumping, get ticking and talking on all cylinders. Is this going to get you jack, stack, succulent, and dense? No, but it might get you lean, mean, and striated.
You get a good back pump. So,
renegade rows.
It will grow the weaker muscle in the pair.
What the hell is that?
Good back build.
Okay, so did I already miss?
Like the dumbbell row plus curl, or the dumbbell
I'm sorry,
row.
fella. This is horrible. It's already.
When you put them together, you end up.
It's like a 30-minute video. Do I really want to watch the whole video?
And the same goes for other 2-in-1 combination exercises like the dumbbell row plus curl, or the dumbbell row plus press, or the dumbbell row plus kickback. This is because the smaller.
Who the hell is doing these exercises? A dumbbell or a triceps kickback. You can use hardly zero weight with that. This again, these are boot camp exercises. Ladies boot camp. burn the cals, shred it and tone. You know what I mean? Nobody's doing
Muscle
this
in your
stuff.
pair will always be so much weaker than your back, so it'll always give out fur.
Okay, anyways, here we go. So here's the score.
You can make money the hard way as a bullfighter, or save money.
Yeah. So far, it's not going well, fellas. So far, we're 5 minutes deep, watched 30 seconds of footage, and 6 minutes of ads. All right. Nurtec. I'm in the deep end, watch as I dive in. Oh, man. What the frick? Guys, I'm sorry. All right, whatever. I don't care.
S-tier back builder, it doesn't score too well. It doesn't stretch your lats or mid-back much at all.
Come on.
It also doesn't take your lats or traps through an active range of motion. So any tension they do receive is isometric. I don't know about you, but deadlifts don't give me a great back pump. And while they are easy to overload, you can always add.
Why does a pump matter, though? Who cares about a pump? A pump is not symbolic of building thick, rotund, voluptuous tissue, right? I feel like that's very beginner logic, right? I used to think that way. It's like, I didn't get a pump, or I didn't get sore, therefore I'm not going to get jacked, stacked, succulent, and dense. And then once I started, really focusing on deadlifts, no pump per se, but you just freaking get thick, real thick, functional, powerful, dense tissue. And anyone that has a respectable deadlift has some good, back girth. Whereas, he's probably going to say that lat pull downs are one of the greatest exercises there are. Every freaking jabroni in the gym does lat pull downs, and their backs aren't, protruding several inches. You know what I mean? That's not going to come from doing. It's something like, just because you feel it, and it's like, those freaking bulldogs, man, I swear to God, these videos are just really what is it? F tier. I mean, we're 8 minutes deep. I feel like I need to restart this sucker. But yeah, anyways, moving on.
Some weight or some reps, that's usually because your hamstrings and glutes are getting stronger, not necessarily your back. As a back builder, the deadlift is going in C tier. I'm not putting...
C? Oh, here we go. Frick. Okay. F tier. Okay, so yeah, I would imagine that the row triceps, kickback, row curl, renegade row, okay, that's good. That should be F tier. But anyways, a deadlift is with a freaking staple. And from the fact, it's funny that he's saying that it's not a back exercise. It's in the freaking, listen, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding, a book that's been around for several decades. There's no freaking, this is before all the freaks and geeks and analytical data and studying everything like that. And they understood it. They have deadlifts on the chest and back day because everyone knows it's a freaking back exercise. Can deadlifting be a glute and hamstring exercise as well? Of course, but that's the beauty of the deadlift. It's a total freaking full body exercise. But one of the things that hammers the hardest is indeed the lats, the traps, the erectors. My 2 cents that unless you're doing sumo or something, deadlift will absolutely destroy your back, right? It'll make you stronger in your bent over rows or your pendlay rows or your dumbbell rows. Any row, it'll make your rows astronomically more powerful. And why is that? Because it's freaking giving you this powerful, strong, thick, functional back that you're not going to get through doing whatever S tier exercises. I can promise you that.
Get in D or F tier just be.
Okay, above the knee rack.
Since it often damages gym equipment, Hog's plate.
It is the above the knee rack pull. Listen, I can attest. I went kind of crazy doing the above the knee rack pulls 8 years ago or something. I had 1,300 pounds I worked up to or more. Luckily, I had a really good power bar, was able to withstand it, but the people that do that in the gym, the gym bars are rated for 700 pounds probably, and they're dropping them and stuff too, so you're getting the extra force with the weight on it. I do agree that you hate to see the above the knee rack pulls in the gym, just because when I'm benching or I'm squatting or something, and if that bar rolls whatsoever, rolls out of your hands when you're benching, it's freaking break your ribs. Or say you're squatting, you're grinding through, and because the bar's bent, it kind of rolls, right? And just ruins your elbows or your wrists or something like that. It's a very real possibility. Or if you're deadlifting and it's swiveling on you while you're gripping it, there's nothing more annoying than that. You want to have a good freaking bar with a good spin, and the rack pulls do kind of crush it. The one thing I did find that the above the knee rack pulls, because you could go so freaking heavy, is they would make your traps like more sore depending on how hard you push it. But that's just like, because you have unlimited potential to push just astronomical weights with that sucker, because you're basically just, it's like doing a leg press. Can you do a leg press? Can you do a 1-inch leg press? If you can do a 1-inch leg press at 1,300 pounds, you can pretty much do a above the knee rack pull at 1,300 pounds. And then as long as your freaking shoulders don't get ripped out of the sockets, your traps have to hold on to that sucker, and it'll freaking make you extremely sore. But yes, I mean, for overall back development, probably not that great, but for freaking trap development, it'll make your traps sore, all right. But again, is that really better than any other things you can do for your traps, per se? Like, upright rows or high pulls, or just doing like a really high lateral raise, or even just shrugs. It's probably not worth ripping your freaking arms out of the sockets.
And unless your name is Jeff, feels pretty terrible, I'm going to go ahead and move it to F tier. Okay, you're probably ready for some better exercises. So let's start with the wide grip pull-up. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. I mean, honestly, pull-ups, that's definitely a S tier. I think S tier should be deadlifts, pull-ups, and rows, whatever, because these are the freaking exercises that have been around since the dawn of man, that every freaking pro bodybuilder, every strong guy, every big guy does these exercises. Whatever Smith machine mumbo jumbo I see on here most certainly should not be S or A tier. That should all be like B or below. It should not be anywhere in S and A tier. But the classics, those are the freaking classics for a reason. They stuck around since the dawn of man for a reason.
Offers high tension throughout the range of...
All right, I don't care. Wide grip pull up, neutral grip pull up, whatever, all the same. They're all good.
Pull downs.
They're all
You've got
great.
Wide grip lat pull down.
Wait, what are we going? Pull downs, okay. I'm already gonna look at this right now. So, again, yeah, you get a good pump doing lat pull downs. If anything, I like doing them as a warm up before my pull ups. Just get those freaking lats greasy, get those suckers loose as a goose, get the blood pumping and thumping before you go to the pull ups, and you strap some weight from the sack, you know what I'm saying? The kettlebell sack hanging from the hip bones, you know what I mean? But again, like, you have to just kind of look around your surroundings. And for the most part, like, everybody does lat pull downs. Nobody does deadlifts for the most part. I mean, people do now. It's kind of become more of a fad, I suppose, which is good. It's a good fad, right? But you don't see people doing croc rows. You never see people like really doing bent over, just barbell rows. Yeah, I mean, these ones you don't see. You see these because these are the cables, right? The cables feel good. You get a good pump. But I don't think that that's representative of the freaking growth. So the fact that he also has here in the grading system, like, does it feel good? I don't understand why that's a part of what makes the best and worst back exercise. The best should just be like, is it effective? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it going to get you horse cock strong? And is it going to make you voluptuous? I don't think it has anything to do with feeling good, because a bunch of the cable craps always were, it's like, oh man, that feels so good, a good stretch. But again, they're like physical therapy movements. They're not movement. Ronnie Coleman never did that stuff,
Neutral grip lat pull downs and half kneeling one arm.
Like, this is just this. No one's getting jacked doing that. I can promise you that. I don't know if you guys can see it. No one's getting jacked doing a half kneeling lat pull down, right? Because by the time you need to really seriously horse some weight, it's just gonna be pulling you off your feet.
Lat pull downs. Wide grip lat pull downs offer a big stretch up. Easily overload them by increasing the pin weight. The wide grip pull down is our first exercise being awarded to S tier. Neutral grip pull downs have all the same upsides of wide grip pull downs, except they emphasize your lats over the mid traps, especially if you think about driving your elbows down. So they're also going in S tier. Half kneeling one arm lat pull downs are heralded as being so optimal online. So let's see how they do. High stretch, check.
Let's see how they do, like as if it's like an official, a real thing.
High tension, check. Good feel, at least for me, check. and they're easy to overload. You can easily add a rep each week and then some weight as you get stronger. There is a little less stability here than on a pull-down machine. However, you can overcome that by bracing against your knee or against an incline bench. Plus, being able to focus on one lat at a time is great for preventing asymmetry.
Let me just point something out here. This, I mean, I get he's going to just give us some astronomically high score, but let's look at this freaking pulley system first of all. So the pulley is making it tremendously easier, right? But on top of that, there's 30 pounds. So 30 pounds on a pulley, let's say that's probably more of like what, 20 pounds or something? So he's pulling 20 pounds per arm. Who's getting freaking curvaceously rotund doing a 20-pound pull down? You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing when you got the freaking V-grip wedge on and, you know, you're really shimmied under that sucker, right? And you're doing the 300-pound stack or whatever. Like, yeah, okay, that might get you somewhere. But 30 pounds, like, you got to just look at the freaking weight. I don't care about the feel and the stretch. That's not doing shit. That's some pencil neck shit.
So I'm tempted to put them in A tier. I'm going to be lenient and put them in S tier as well.
That's S tier! That's S tier!
Spin on the same movement.
That is not S tier. That is unbelievable, dude. That is unbelievable. This,
where you twist your torso by 90 degrees so that you're pulling the cable across your body. This will increase the stretch on your lats even further. However, I find that despite the amazing stretch, a lot of people find the movement a bit awkward, especially at first, so I'm going to leave these in A tier.
That's an 8. That's the stupidest shit I've ever seen. That's like an activation warm-up. I can see doing that, like, oh, my lats are a little tight. I just horse-cocked a giant deadlift yesterday. My lats are a little sore. Let me try to stretch these suckers out, right? Open them up. No, I promise you, average schmucks going to the gym, doing this, doing all these, no gains. I promise you that.
Okay, let's cover some of the most popular row variations. First, the barbell row. It stretches your back quite well, and it offers high tension.
I guarantee this is going to be lower than the freaking half-kneeling cable twist.
However, because it's not the most stable exercise, that tension will be dispersed to other stabilizing muscles.
Who cares? That's what gets you strong.
Just to keep balance. This isn't a huge deal. Your back will still get hammered, and you can still overload this movement from week to week. But I don't think it's the best row variation, and I don't even think it's the best barbell row variation. So the standard barbell row is going in B tier.
B tier.
The Yates row is
just freaking all-time classic bread and butter exercise. B tier.
Basically just a barbell row with a more upright posture and with looser technique. Of course, it's named after bodybuilding legend and 6-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. While the looser form will help you load more weight, it doesn't...
I also find it funny how that's like, how's that not just considered a barbell row? You know what I mean? Oh, it's a Yates row. It's just like, your form is just less strict, you know what I mean? Which I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, it's funny how that's like it's like the croc row. It's essentially just a dumbbell row with just worse form. You know what I mean? I should have the freaking, the Dick Del Hoggins bench press where you just bounce it and your butt shoots off the bench every time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just bad form, gets coined like it's an exercise.
Actually guarantee more tension to your back muscles because of momentum coming from your hips. And the more upright posture actually reduces the stretch on your lats and mid-traps. Sorry, Dorian, the Yates row is going...
Yeah, but with that being said, the more upright you pull it, like, it's going to be a better trap, upper freaking, like, rear delt, I feel like, exercise. I actually like doing that. I like doing that with the barbell, being more upright, pulling like that. I just kind of look at it as a different shrug variation. And same thing with dumbbells. So, like, just kind of more upright pulling as opposed to shrugging like this, just kind of pulling it back. I feel like that's, like, incredible freaking, upper back pump through the wazoo. Not to mention you're handling cold, hard steel, not freaking cables and machines. And you can horse some serious weight with that. And as he said, it was a negative, like, oh, you got some little less stability. You're going to actually have to use your body functionally, like, as if that's a bad thing. Like, you're going to get freaking strong. You know what I mean? If you do any sort of athletics, you should most certainly not do this crap. You should do the stuff that he's saying is not that good. The B and the C tier for sure. Does he have a freaking chin-up B tier? Holy buckets.
Going in C tier. The Pendlay row is essentially the opposite of the Yates row. Instead of going more upright, you go more bent over. This is good because it places your lats under a higher degree of stretch and tension. It also...
That doesn't make any. How does that place your lats on a higher stretch? You're like literally resting it on the ground. You're not stretching it out. But again, maybe some people do get a stretch. But just from my experience, like on the ground, you lose the stretch. That's just my 2 cents. Unless you had like extremely short T-Rex arms, which I guess might be the case here.
It allows for more consistent progression since your form is tighter. So, assuming you do them with a controlled negative, I think they belong in B tier. Although, I could easily nudge them into A tier if we factor in strength development. They're just not
How is a pendlay row better than a bent over row? Give me a freaking.
quite stable enough as a pure hypertrophy exercise for my taste. So, yeah, they're going to stay in B tier. The deficit pendlay row is a pendlay row where you stand on something like a bumper plate. This allows you to go deeper on the negative, meaning more stretch on your lats. I'm going to put these in A tier. All right, the Meadows row, named after the late, great
At least
John
some
Meadows,
row is on the A
someone
tier.
who taught me so much. So, let's see. It stretches your back a ton. It absolutely smashes your mid-back with super high tension. And as long as you brace against your knee, you'll be nice and stable. The mid-back pump you'll get from these is unmatched, and as a bonus, you get to work on each side individually.
I mean, it's a good exercise. I will give it. I mean, they're good. I've done them a lot in my time, for sure. But are we really going to rate this higher than just the freaking bread and butter classics barbell bent over row? It's probably going to be an S tier, isn't it?
It's definitely a personal favorite and easily belongs in S tier for me. The inverted row is basically an upside down row where you pull your own body instead of pulling some weight. They offer a pretty amazing stretch at the bottom, and I can't lie, they feel pretty great too. If you set it up right, you should feel nice and locked in, and you should be able to feel a strong mind-muscle connection with your back. However, they're getting...
Yeah, well, no one's going to get jacked with that. I think that's a good finisher movement. Like, if for whatever reason, you know, you're freaking cooked, you want to put a little icing on the cake, there's a bar in the rack, okay, bang out some of those suckers. But again, who's getting a gorilla width doing inverted rows? Okay? And again, I'm saying they're a good exercise, but and I'm sure he's going to talk about, like, the loading. You can't really load those suckers up well, which is a big issue, of course. But, like, how is that... an inverted row, if it gets rated higher than a barbell bent over row, I'm going to lose my mind.
Not down for progression. While you can have a training partner load some weight in your lap, this also makes the movement feel really awkward, for me at least. And then without the weight, you're stuck with doing super high reps, which is fine, but it is suboptimal once you go above 30 or 40.
Suboptimal!
So despite some positive aspects, I'm going to put inverted rows in C tier. One-arm dumbbell rows,
Okay.
the zombie corpse of Athlean X's exercise graveyard. Obviously, this exercise gets a bad rap on.
Wait, so wait, I don't understand. I don't watch all that. Keep up. Did Athlean X say this is a terrible exercise? He put it in his, like, graveyard. It's like, oh, we got to get rid of this exercise. And I guarantee he recommended, like, a cable twist and stretch kneeling motion instead. That's superior.
Line, but other than Athlean X, I've actually never heard another physiotherapist or exercise scientist express concerns about it. I've been doing them myself and with clients for more than a decade without a single issue. So, let's see. They offer a big stretch on your lats at the bottom, and they feel nice, smooth, and stable. The main issue is, once your back gets decently strong, you may max out the dumbbell rack at your gym, which usually stops at 100 pounds. So they're getting not...
What gym? I mean, really? Most gyms at 100 pounds, you go to Planet Fitness, right? I feel like most gyms go to up to 120 these days. Okay, then the better ones 150s. But anyways, I mean, listen, the dumbbell row is just straight up money. Straight up money, okay? You can't go wrong with that sucker. That's why I recommend, like, you can always just buy, like, a loadable dumbbell. I mean, anyways, I personally still think that barbell rows are probably better. You know what I mean? It's just like the body's just working all together as one horse-like unit. And it's just, in my opinion, going to get you stronger. And I know this is, like, purely hypertrophy, but I feel like with more strength in those bread and butter movements, like, you have the potential to pack on more mass if you do this horse crap then afterwards. You know what I mean? But the people that are watching this, like, oh, I'm not going to do those C tier pull-ups and rows. I'm going to do those S tier twists and shouts. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're in for a rude awakening when they keep doing the twist and shout for 5 years and, you know, have the thickness of a number 2 pencil, you know?
Down slightly for progression, but I'm still going to put them in A tier. The croc row is basically just a dumbbell row with looser form. So you use some leg drive and some momentum on the positive. Now, I'm normally not a fan of loose technique. However, where you're braced against the bench, the momentum here is actually more controlled and consistent than it normally is. Also, the momentum leans into the natural strength curve of the back quite well. It gives you some assistance in getting through the harder top half of the range while still offering a nice stretch at the bottom. I may get some flack for this from the technique junkies, but I'm putting croc rows in A tier. Okay.
You shouldn't get any flack for that. It's just a dumbbell row. And then obviously you should always do that's the thing. It's like, oh, it's no loose form. But it's like you should just be doing strict form, and as it gets, keep going heavier and then let the form break down, and all of a sudden your dumbbell row turned into a croc row. You know what I mean? That's why it's so silly calling it like a croc row versus a dumbbell row. I'm doing croc rows today. It's like, so you're doing dumbbell rows. Well, no, it's like you're not gonna use momentum on your warm-up sets. You're just doing a dumbbell row, and then you get in heavier weight and you're letting your form break down a tad bit. But there's nothing wrong with that for pulling, I feel like. For pushing, letting your form break down and, like, you know, loosey-goosey, momentum and stuff, you might get tweaked. But for pulling, I feel like very rarely are people getting hurt, you know, loose form on, like, dumbbell rows. T-bar row. I mean, I feel like, I don't know.
Freestanding T-bar row.
It's a classic.
Probably the most epic-looking exercise, especially if you look like Ronnie Coleman. But the problem is, I just don't love them. They do give a nice stretch on your lats, and the tension that your back gets will be high. I just find them to be annoying. Balance can be an issue once you get decently strong, and the other end of the bar will often pop up if you don't have a landmine attachment. You can progress on them well by adding reps or load, but they're getting knocked down in the feels good department for me. I'm thinking C tier.
C tier. Another classic in the C tier.
These are an absolute staple and should 100% be included in your bodybuilding routine. If you don't have a chest-supported machine, you can do dumbbell Helms rows where you brace your chest against.
The hell's a Helms row? Like, it's just a chest-supported row, but everyone gets to claim these exercises. Yeah, chest-supported row. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Like a seal row. Again, just rows, brother. You know what I mean? Look at all the bodybuilders and stuff. They all just do like the hammer strength rows. They're all just chest-supported rows. Like, you can't go wrong with the rows and stuff. I just feel like, for the most part, the only stuff you can go wrong with is the twist and shout cable motions like that. Like, you're going to get very little out of that. And I think you get the bread and freaking butter with the free weights, and then the icing on the cake with, like, the freaking, you know, if you're going to do any of the machines or whatever, you do those hammer strength rows or something after. Or chest-supported row, seal row, all that
the back of an incline bench.
Just my 2 cents. Cable row. Christ!
Some people just know that the best rate for you is a rate based on you, not one based on whatever this person is doing. Get a rate based on you with DriveWise and the Allstate app.
It's a freaking long video already, boys. Thank you for tuning in.
If you're living with severe alopecia areata, the latest
Here we go, huh?
I know of for feeling a deep stretch on my lats, especially when I lean forward on the negative. They also give me a crazy lat pump, and you can always increase the reps or weight from week to week. These are going in S tier as well. Switching to a wide grip will shift some emphasis to the mid traps, especially for
the class. You can't go wrong with it. All right, face pull.
Standard rope face pull is going in B tier.
Okay, yeah, I don't think the face. I mean, again, if you're talking about purely hypertrophy, again, this is like physical therapy movement. It's not going to get you jack, stack, succulent, and dense. Okay, seated row, you know, solid. Can't go wrong with it. Chest supported row, sure. Anyways, again, listen, guys. For my opinion,
if you're not,
it's not that complicated.
Strong mind muscle connection with your lats. These are better done for higher reps, so they aren't as easily overloaded as some of the compound exercises we've covered. But you can always add a rep.
I feel like this is a good one to get like a lat pump. It's a good way to like. Maybe before deadlifts, prime up the lats on those suckers, right? Kind of pull into that motion. I don't think they're going to get you jack, stack, succulent, and dense, but this is a good feel-good finisher.
And the incredible mind muscle connection. That lat pullover is the same basic movement, except with the dumbbell, you have much more tension on your lats at the bottom and very little tension at the top.
Where's this list?
Put all this information to use with this. Easily my most highly rated program ever. So I'll put.
Yeah, sure. This is funny. I want to check this out here. Can't wait for Rick De La Stick. I went through these. Let me just kind of go through these here. It's funny. All right. His advice kept me small for years. What was my advice always? Suck down copious amount of calories, focus on the heavy basics, do them frequently, right? Don't do tons of volume, just freaking frequency, always shooting for more weight, just like basic progressive overload. That kept him small. I started growing once I started training like my gym bros, machine pull downs. Well, brother, it tells me that you weren't really trying that hard then. I promise you that, because if you were actually doing what I was telling you to do, like getting horse cock strong on deadlifts, weighted pull-ups, bench press, dips, squats, and just picking like 2 or 3 movements a week, that's what I've always kind of recommended in the past. No one is small that's going to be freaking strong like that. Deadlift not being S tier is pencil neck behavior. I couldn't agree more. Okay. Even the guy that said that my advice kept him small says, to be honest, I prefer pencil neck over sleeping with a CPAP machine every day. So basically he's admitting he's a pencil neck, okay? That's good to know. Plus, deadlift isn't even a neck exercise. Who said it's a neck exercise? But at the same time, anyone that has a giant, like conventional deadlift has a pretty thick, stout neck, right? Because it's just all these freaking fibers are just firing up the wazoo. Train your neck if you want a bigger neck. I don't know where that comment even came from. But, okay. He just admitted he's a pencil neck, so I guess I can sleep now. Let me guess, you never drink a gallon of milk a day. Somebody said, I'm the opposite. I started growing when I started doing the basics and got strong on them. I only do dips, pull-ups, squats, deadlifts, bench, barbell row. Like basically what I recommended, right? And so this is a person that probably brings some freaking gusto and some cojones to the gym. So when he's doing his dips and his pull-ups, his squats and his deadlifts, his bench and his rows, he's freaking slapping on some more steel every set, really trying, you know what I mean? Cranking the tunes, bringing the intensity, right? And actually trying to progress, as opposed to this other guy who somehow who couldn't grow, who stayed small, doing the freaking bread and butter basic movements that every single soul that knows anything in this world will recommend. Somehow he stayed small and only started growing until he started training like a total jabroni. Says, I only do chin-ups for my back. The idea of doing 10 things to hit one muscle group is ridiculous. Chin-ups, dips, front squats on A days. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've always preached back then. I still believe that. I'm just trying to do that Arnold program. So I'm doing more stuff, but I'll be honest, I don't see any benefit in doing more exercises as opposed to just picking the freaking tried true classics like the pull-ups and the rows, the deadlifts. I'll give you an example, for instance. So the other day, I didn't really have time to get the full workout in. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do however many sets it takes to get to 100 pull-ups. Just 100 pull-ups. And my freaking lats were way more sore than when I get in there and I have to do a combination of things or more exercise. It's just like you just find something that you feel that it's hard, that you can freaking load up progressively, overload, right? And just try to progress with it. And you're telling me you're going to stay small and weak doing that? There's zero chance. Zero chance. Like the squat. Like if you get a freaking thick, voluptuously rotund glutes and quads and hams, like if you're taking your squat from freaking 225 to 495, you bet your ass. And like it's not even that. That's a possibility. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a possibility versus someone that's stuck at 225 squat, but then they're also doing like leg extensions and hack squats and sissy squats and all that. Who do you think's gonna have the bigger legs, right? Granted, like the volume's similar. I'm just saying putting the same effort and volume into the one exercise, getting as strong as an ox versus doing all these other exercises that are they're not tried and true, Oh. Anyways, I think this video is long enough. I think, oh, here, this is another good comment though. It really depends. I did these easy exercises, so somebody else agrees. They are indeed easy exercises. Like this stuff, this is easy, guys. Like it feels good. It's easy. People want to do it. Lat pull downs for the most part are easy exercises. Like they feel good. Like, you know, curls and all that. Like who doesn't love curls? But curls are also easy exercises. Tricep push downs, easy exercises. So I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying, like, I do those, like, curls and push downs and all that, but those are easy exercises. I'm saying deadlifts, weighted pull-ups, overhead press, squats, those are not easy. That's why a lot of people don't do them. Those take freaking grit, especially if you're actually going to try to progress with them. All right. Well, conventional deadlifts are probably overrated. It's a bit cheap of Jeff to ignore all the variations. I've seen the best growth in both muscle mass and, I'm assuming, strength. But here's someone agreeing, deadlifts, and they're not overrated. They're not freaking overrated. And I can speak from experience. Like, I did the bodybuilding jabroni training for like 10 years before I started really focusing on just progressing with my deadlift stuff. And I put like 10 pounds on with nothing else changing. Nothing else changing. Eating the same, right? I still had to go to wrestling practice and burn all those freaking calories and stuff. But once I started deadlifting, that's when I broke through a size plateau and obviously a strength plateau without a doubt. And then the same thing too. Like, listen, I've done my fair share of strength coaching and personal training. And because of my experience, I always really value deadlifts. And when the people started doing that, they got freaking way stronger and bigger. And they were probably already doing the curls and the bench and the lat pull downs and all that stuff on their own, the pull-ups, all that stuff. They're probably all doing that. But what were they not doing was balls to the wall deadlifting. And it always made them grow like a weed. And you know, who didn't were the pencil necks that didn't try. Like, they just bullshit, half-assed their way through it. Yeah. And they still probably saw results. I can't remember, but like, if people tried hard with deadlifting, you're gonna get big and strong. It's like freaking, it's common sense, right? If you haven't tried. Trust me on that. Why? Deadlifts are literally not a back exercise. I paid a personal trainer years ago, and the split he had me on was squats and deadlifts. Wow. Well, let me just say this. First of all, anyone can become a personal trainer because they're a personal trainer. Most certainly does not make them an expert, okay? There's a million different certifications you can get, and none of them really mean anything. The only thing that means anything is experience, right? The fact that he had you deadlift with your squats, that's fine, right? Because you're working your glutes and your hands with the deads, but you're also working your back like a freaking big time sucker, you know what I'm saying? Hence why Arnold Schwarzenegger in his book has then the chest and back, he has deadlifts on the freaking back day, right? I mean, we don't need that, but that's just like an example. Like, brother, this guy's trying to make it seem like an idiot. Oh, deadlifts aren't even a back exercise. Pencil like shit, my God. Hey, I think that's enough. This video is insanely long. I just love all the pencil neck behavior. The only way you're calling deadlift and leg exercise is if you're doing sumo, which is also pencil neck behavior. Listen, the sumo will work your traps a bit, but yeah, that conventional where you're really getting down to the ground, right? It's freaking, especially a deficit conventional deadlift, brother, your lats are gonna get so freaking strong doing that. How many times do I gotta repeat myself? I think that's the end of this sucker here. Yeah, RDLs, frick. The constant stretch on those suckers, those RDLs will make your lats really sore. And I can speak from experience because, I'm talking about recent experience. So the freaking Arnold program, right? It's chest, back, shoulders, and then legs, or shoulders and arms and then legs. So there's 3 workouts, and you do them twice a week. So after doing the legs, with the deadlifting, the next day in the chest and back, okay? So I went, because Arnold's program is kind of interesting. It's like, On the leg day, you're doing stiff-legged deadlifts, and on the chest and back, you're doing deadlifts, right? So I just deadlifted, and so I was going to deadlift again, and my freaking lats were so sore after the leg day where I had to deadlift that I had to tap out. I was like, I feel like I'm going to tear a lat if I try to deadlift again because my lats were so freaking tight and sore. So if anyone doesn't think deadlifting is a lat exercise, you clearly haven't deadlifted with enough freaking gusto. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass back in the den of steel and sweat and grit. Pick up the freaking bar, deadlift that sucker, come back to me when your neck is thicker, your traps are popping, and you have bat wings.